Hey, good afternoon, Edmonton. It is Thursday, February 27th, or Tuesday, February 27th, and it is the afternoon instead of the morning. Had a bit of a busy morning today, and I suspect that the market's going to continue to be busy like this. So I will try my best to come on in the morning. I don't know how many guys watch this live, anyways. I know lots of people watch this after it's been recorded. So today we're going to talk about what we talk about every single week, which is what's happening in Edmonton's real estate market. Last week when I was in New York, I also reported to you live from New York about Edmonton's real estate statistics. And I'm happy to say that I am sitting in a chair this time and not on my knees bringing you this update. So let's take a look at our market update for this week. We have currently 1,720 active listings for single family homes. It has dropped again from last week. Now, this is something we've been seeing the trend the last few weeks that the inventory continues to drop. What does this mean? It means that the amount of new listings that are coming on the market and the amount of sales that are coming are negative. In terms of last week, we were at 1758. So we're 38 less. Doesn't mean that nothing came on the market. It means that we had a bunch of houses come on the market and everything new potentially could have sold, plus then some of the resale. Now, some of the new houses may not have sold and some of the resale may have, the stuff that was already there is selling, but it's showing us that the market is still dropping in inventory. It's the end of February. It is March 1st on Friday. I know we had a big dump of snow, but that doesn't slow down anything in the real estate market when it's this busy. There is still a very high demand with realtors with buyers that are looking to purchase their first home, second home. And you can see there's not a whole lot of options for them. And every week it continues to drop. I thought the market would start to see an increase in inventory the last few weeks, but we've seen the exact opposite. So what is going to happen in March? My suspicion is that more people are going to be putting their house on the market. So we should see this number rise to over 1,800 within the next few weeks. As a buyer, what does that mean for you? There's more options, but don't forget, right now we are sitting in a multiple offer market. That is where we're sitting right now. What does that mean for you as a buyer? You have to realize you're going to be competing if you're buying a house under $500,000 in Edmonton. If you are a seller and you own a home that is in the $300,000 to $500,000 price range, what that means for you is that your equity is continuing to rise right now. And if you are thinking of selling, it is going to be a pretty quick sale. So if you're trying to think of what's next, make sure you figure out what is happening on the other side. Now, if you take a look at St. Albert, Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove, and Beaumont, all their numbers are pretty close to what they were last week. We haven't seen much of a change week over week in those areas, and that's quite typical. This is smaller areas and pockets of suburban Edmonton. For those of you watching that are not from Edmonton area, these are really close neighborhoods. They're 15 minutes away, 20, 30, depending on where you're driving from. And so I would say Spruce and Beaumont, well, not so much Beaumont, Spruce Grove and Stony Plain are more affordable. St. Albert, Sherwood Park are actually sometimes more expensive. I know in St. Albert, they have the other lake community. We have one in Edmonton called Summerside, and St. Albert's called Jensen Lakes. Very, very expensive. It's definitely not affordable in that sense. Now, if you're talking Ontario affordable to Edmonton affordable, yes, then it's affordable. Beaumont is a smaller place, but their prices have also risen as well over the years. It's not as affordable as it used to be. Now, let's take a look at what happened in terms of sales that went under contract in the last 7 days. So you can see we had a little slight change in sales, just a little bit less in Edmonton. And in St. Albert, we had a bit more. Sherwood Park, only a couple less. Spruce Grove is very minimal, and Beaumont's the same. So we had that many deals go under contract. Now, this does not count deals that went sold immediately. So if you see a house listed and then sold the next day because there was no conditions, it doesn't fall under this category. It falls under the sold category. These are homes that have a condition of some sort, whether it's financing or inspection. And you might be wondering if, because we're in multiple offer market, are we still seeing conditions? Yes, we still are right at this moment. In the peak of things in a couple years ago, we got to, I think it was about a month's worth of craziness where we started to see the only offers winning were the unconditional offers. We have not seen that happen right now. I've also noticed that the offers coming in aren't substantially higher than what they're being listed at if they've been listed correctly. Okay, that's a big if. And then take a look at what has sold in the last 7 days. So these are deals that were under contract, that were pending, and now they're sold. So last week we had 231 pending sales in Edmonton, and in the last 7 days, 211 sold. Now, does that mean that 20 deals fell apart? Not necessarily. It could mean that the conditions of the one contract is maybe 2 weeks long, or 10 days or 8 days, and doesn't fall in that 7-day period, which is actually quite typical in Edmonton. So I would say that 211 is contributing of some of the pending sales from the week before at 231, but also probably the week before. So the activity is quite decent. That is a lot of deals that are happening every week, but not the same amount of listings are coming on every week. Because if we had 211 sales in the last week and we still dropped 38 listings, it means that we had 238 plus 211 come on for sure, if not more, right? So that if that math makes sense to you, that's what's going on there. Now, let's take a look at last year. Last year, I told you, was a lot sleepier than it was this year, and it had been a lot sleepier than the years prior. So we had 211 sales in the last 7 days this year. Last year, we're sitting at 165. This makes complete sense to me because we were not seeing the kind of activity we were seeing now. If we continue to see sales in at the 200 mark consistently all the time and it's going up, then it's just putting more demand on houses. So if you're listing a house, that means your house is going to have even higher chances of a multiple offer because of the demand, right? This is not just hearsay. This is actual statistics. Now, this is single family resale market. It doesn't include new build unless they're listed on MLS. If they're new build, we're not seeing that. Now, how do you know the market's hot in new build? Is when they're increasing prices. And that's what we're seeing. We have seen most builders actually do at least one, if not a few increases in the last month because they started to see all the offers coming in and they're going, well, I'm going to increase the price. I've also been experiencing an unfortunate experience with one of the builders that I used to like to refer, and they are doing multiple offers in a way that, now keep in mind, the builders don't have to play the same game as the resale market. The resale market, we have rules to play by when it comes to multiple offer. With the builders, they can do whatever they want. And I'll tell you, this is how big of a fan I am of that. And I am trying to steer my clients away from that just because it's unnecessary stress that's not needed at this stage. There are still more homes. So yes, our market is hot like it was a few years ago, but here's the big key factor. We still have more homes now than there was back then. There's a higher demand for sure, but it's definitely something that people need to consider. Now, if you take a look at St. Albert and Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove and Beaumont, this time last year and this time this year, they're pretty similar. So they're not going to be experiencing the same kind of rush and whatnot. Now, that being said, Sherwood Park and St. Albert have always been very strong markets. So if Edmonton was a buyer's market, didn't mean that Sherwood Park and St. Albert were a buyer's market also. They usually keep pretty consistent because the amount of properties they have available for sale, you've seen every week, it's the same. And if there's more people moving into those cities or suburbs, what do you want to call them? Towns? I don't even know. I'm not saying the right word, but there is a higher demand there, then it's still less options. There's only so much they can buy because there's only so much inventory. So you can see that of the 1,700 and 201 listings, 211 are sold. So we still have a chunk left. It would be really bad if we were sitting at 500 sales a week and 1,000 or 800 listings. Like that is unprecedented seller's market if that was to happen. I don't suspect that's going to happen. This year, a lot of people are renewing their mortgages, right? So myself included. Our 5-year excitement of low interest rates are coming to an end this year. So a lot of people are making a decision. Should I renew my mortgage or should I sell it? Maybe it's time to upgrade. Maybe it's time to just get rid of the house or the rental that you used to have. Those are all things that people have to take into consideration. Now, for those of you watching me live, I am planning to be on here for quite some time. So if you want to put in any questions about the real estate market in the comments, I'm happy to be able to answer any questions that I might be able to answer for you. You just have to pop in the comments wherever you're watching, and I'll be able to throw it up here and we can have a discussion in terms of the Edmonton real estate market. The weather here, when I always talk about the weather, people wonder why I do that. It does impact the market. Yes, it got cold. Yes, we got a big dump of snow. But next week, I think it's going to start melting again. People get really attached to the weather in terms of, okay, it's time to move. So let's give you a context in terms of if you were to buy a house today, if you were to put an offer today, you can still have conditions, right? So if you're in multiple offer situation, you usually want to keep your conditions tight, we call it, which is not the full 2 weeks normally. You want to do it as quick as possible. So you need to do that in partnership with your mortgage broker. You can't just be like, yeah, I'll get conditions done in 3 days so we can win the multiple. Well, but if your mortgage broker needs 5 days, don't put 3 days and then not have it done on time, because likely you're not going to have that extended because there's maybe a backup offer in place. Maybe it ends up being higher. Maybe somebody else comes in and writes another offer, right? So just be careful of that. But let's say you wrote out an offer today and the conditions were until next Friday or next Wednesday. Okay. Then 30 days from that is about, I'd say, beginning of April. So possession, if you're looking to move in April, May, now is the time to be looking for houses. Now, can you move in June if you buy a house now? Yes, that's very possible too. There are new build homes that are available and they're not done until that stage. So you can work that angle, or you can look at houses that have people who are living in the homes and they haven't bought anything yet. So they are looking for a longer possession, let's say 90 days, to give them time to find a place so that they can actually not have to move twice. So if someone's listing their house and they want to sell today, but they haven't bought a new place, they're likely going to ask you for a June possession instead of the April, May, because they want to be able to have time to find a place. So if you're not just renting, you might want to consider, okay, if my lease ends or my contract ends at the end of March, end of April, you definitely at something that ends in June or July, you could wait, but what is that going to cost you? How much is your rent per month? And then how much is the prices of homes going to go up? Because yes, the interest rates have stabilized, I think. The rates are supposed to be announced next week in terms of if they're going to be changing again or not. But it's also really important to understand the house pricing, because the same house that you're buying today is more money than it was 6 months ago. Now, for people watching in Ontario, BC, you're like, well, duh. Okay, that's actually not a duh thing, because in Edmonton, the prices don't typically increase that significantly. There's been speculation that prices are going to increase 8 to 10% this year. We typically in Edmonton see a 1 to 2% equity increase. So if you own a house in Edmonton, you're not looking to selling, hey, you can pat yourself on the back. You have gained some equity this year. And we always send updates to our clients to let them know how the market did this whole year. So next year in 2025, you can see, wow, my house did go up 10% and now it's $40,000, $50,000 more than it was last year. But typically it goes up $4,000 to $5,000 instead of $40,000 to $50,000. So if you're waiting to buy, you're waiting for the rates to drop, you're waiting for the house prices to drop, it's likely not going to happen. Now, I still have time and no one's asking me any questions. So I'm going to talk to you about something I'm seeing in the market right now. This is a very unpopular opinion. For all you realtors who do open houses and you're watching, maybe plug your ears. My unpopular opinion is that buyers should not be going into open houses. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, you are not getting any representation when you walk into that home. You're walking into the house unrepresented, which means that the person that's working the open house is not working to your benefit. You're not in a contract with them. They have no fiduciary duties to you. So they will give you the information you need. But how do you know what questions to ask? I always say you don't know what you don't know. So when you have representation, like myself, we point things out in the house. We ask the questions we know to ask. You can Google and YouTube things all you want. But at the end of the day, an agent with a lot of experience is going to be able to bring that experience to help you. And that's why I think open houses aren't a good idea for buyers to walk into unrepresented. You're going to walk in. I've had this happen to me twice now this year. Clients think, oh, I don't want to bother Melanie. I'm going to walk into this house. Or another client wasn't working with me yet. Walk into an open house. They fall in love with the home for whatever reason it may be. They maybe fell in love with one aspect of the house. And they're like, this is the house. This is the house I want to write an offer on. Even though there's multiple offers, this is the house. But then what happens is when they talk to me, and I go into the house and I show them the property myself. I point things out and ask if they had considered all these things. And now you can see that they're a little hesitant and realize, wait, we didn't actually think about these exterior issues or these interior issues or these cosmetic issues or the layout issues, or wait, it doesn't check off 90% of my boxes, it only checks off 40% of my boxes. Or what are my boxes? Maybe you hadn't even thought about that prior to getting representation. So we always sit down and figure out with you what are the criteria, because when you walk into a house, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Now, when I show houses, it's not a home inspection. Obviously, a home inspection has its place, but if a realtor with their naked eye is able to see red flags, that's something that's scary, because then what's going to happen actually during the home inspection? So I want to know in the comments, if you own a house, did you do a home inspection when you bought the house? 2, did you know you can get a sewer scope done? 3, if you have a house that's a wood burning fireplace, did you know you can get a wet inspection done? Did you know that there are many things you can get done to make sure you do your due diligence? Now, a lot of people say to me, well, I have a new house, I didn't need to do a sewer scope. So we have done a few sewer scopes in homes that are only a few years old, and we have found significant issues, and we were able to get those remedied. So it's important, if you bought a new home, I always make the recommendation, live in the house. As long as we're working with a builder that we know is reputable, that will come back, do that home inspection, including the sewer scope, after you've lived in the house. You're still, everything's still under warranty. And so you're not missing out on anything that in that regards. Now, oh, thank you. I don't know who you are, but thank you for your comment. I don't know how to say your name, but thank you very much for acknowledging my commitment. I enjoy doing these updates for you guys every week, because I think it's really important that you understand and educate yourself. So kudos to you to watching me every week, so that you can learn and come along on this journey as well. Because the more you learn about the real estate market, the more educated you are. Even if you're not looking to buy or sell, you're understanding Edmonton's real estate market. We are not like Toronto or Vancouver. I'm sure you guys understand that. We're also not even like Calgary. Calgary's market is still doing really well. There's still about $200,000 differential between the same house there as here. Now, obviously, their city is structured in a different way. They have areas that, here in Edmonton, we have, like in our areas, it's got apartments, townhouses, duplexes, single family. Some pockets in Calgary are exclusive to just detached single family homes. Now, these are more expensive because of the fact that it is more exclusive. Whereas in Edmonton, we tend to have everything. That's how our city has been developed. Some of the city things that you might want to know if you're watching as well, that people always think, for example, when Rogers Place was being built, a lot of people downtown thought, ooh, my condo is going to go up in value because of Rogers. So I would like to ask you now, do you have an increase in your value? Likely not, because condos in Edmonton have been a depreciating asset. But fun fact, they're actually selling now. So that's interesting. But they're not selling at the price that the clients purchased the condo at. So it's a big, big buyer beware if you're buying a condo here in Edmonton versus Toronto or even Calgary. Those prices do go up over time. In Edmonton, I don't know what it is, but because I think the homes are so much affordable, if you can buy a single family detached home for $400,000, or you can buy a townhouse in the 350s, 380s with no condo fees, why would you buy a condo for $350,000 for the same price with condo fees? Some of the condos in Edmonton are quite cheap. They're under $200,000, maybe even under $100,000, but those condo fees are $800-900 a month. I've seen some that are over $1,000 a month. So condos to me it's quite risky to purchase. Single family homes, you know what you're getting yourself into. You can do your due diligence to know what it is, what the condition of the home is. And that is why I always lean towards single family homes, because that is the best place for your money. And something I talked about at lunch with some colleagues of mine, I call them my dream team, everyone I refer out, life insurance, car insurance, house insurance, mortgage broker, lawyer. We were talking about in BC how Airbnbs as of May 1st will no longer exist. And so guess what? All the prices of hotels are going up. That's great, because for families like mine, a family of 5, you now have to get 2 hotel rooms at a premium price instead of getting an Airbnb. So I'm curious if that will actually last and if they'll change things. They're supposed to do this because of affordable housing, but I feel like you're not even going to have enough places to house all of the people coming into BC for holidays. So that's a complete side note, but why do I bring that up? Well, if you're looking to do Airbnbs in Alberta, it is still permitted. Now, I know that there's some talk about the rules around that as well. Also in Alberta, I know we're not planning to get rid of them all completely, but there's going to be a bunch of different rules. In Edmonton, I know that they are talking about if you're renting out the place that you need to have, there's a minimum and maximum amount of days you can have if you don't live in the property. I believe they're still working on all that. And that's going to impact that because if people want to invest in short-term rentals, BC is no longer going to be the place to be. And I'm curious to see if Alberta will allow that still to happen so that there's an opportunity here for people to invest in Alberta. Now, if you tuned in to listen to me a few months ago, early January, we talked about the forecast, right? So in terms of what is happening, there is a lot of people coming to Canada, a lot, like over 1.2 million last year. And obviously they're coming and going all over the place in Canada. But think about just that in itself. We don't have enough houses for the new people coming. And then you've got people here locally that are moving province to province, city to city. And it's causing some major issues, especially for affordability. So people can't buy a house in Toronto or Vancouver and they want to provide a life for their family. I'm seeing a lot of them come to Edmonton because it's affordable. You're not going to be house poor broke. And there is stuff here for kids to do. There's lots of stuff thing. Now in St. Albert, there's a school in almost every neighborhood, I believe, except for one. And so it's very family focused and friendly there. Lots of extracurricular you can do. Edmonton, same deal, but we don't have as many schools as St. Albert in terms of the ratio. But Edmonton has both Catholic and public as well too, and private. So there are a lot of options here for families to be able to make a home for themselves here. I have seen some people move over here and then buy a house and then realize I don't want to live here and move back out. So if you are one of those people considering that, consider buying a house under 600,000. If you buy a house over 600,000, I know you think you're getting a lot of house for your money compared to where you live, but the market over 600K does not move as quickly here and does not gain the same amount of equity as the homes under 600, under 500. The hottest price point market right now is 300 to 400,000. If you're looking to buy in that price point, you will 100% for sure be in multiple offer. So let's take a look. I've got some people commenting on YouTube. You're welcome for all this information. Hope you'll be able to help with rental issues. So that's an interesting fact that you post. We as realtors do not do rentals. So in Edmonton here, you are on your own. There's no representation for rentals. I believe in Toronto and Vancouver, there are agents that will help you with rental properties. But here in Edmonton, we only deal with purchases and sale of property. Rental market, it's a good thing you bring that up. It is a very hot commodity right now. It is getting more and more expensive to rent here. It didn't used to be this expensive. A duplex that in a newer area with a fully finished basement, let's say 1,400 square feet, it's going to run you about $2,000 a month. And you can get a older 2-story home for around the same amount, about let's say 1,800 to 2,000 square feet, probably around the $2,200 a month. Now, I'm not familiar with the condo rental prices at all. So if you take a look at rentfaster.ca and Facebook Marketplace is a place where a lot of people go for rentals, but that is not something that me as a realtor is very familiar with. So I can't really give you a ton of advice on that. FEC is asking, what is my opinion on the new home flipping tax in BC? 2-year period. Do you think we should have something like this in Alberta? So I am very unfamiliar with the BC rules, and I don't know what the 2-year period flipping tax is. Now, in terms of Alberta flipping, I'll tell you this. Edmonton really hasn't been a place to flip. I know people are flipping, and I've seen them attempt to flip over the years here. But you need to have a market where the equity of the home increases quite substantially in a very short period of time. That's never been here. So people might have tried it here, but probably not very successfully, or they've been able to get a home at a ridiculously low price because maybe it's got some significant issues, or it was a judicial sale or a foreclosure. Now, here's a fun fact: foreclosures aren't always a good deal. They're actually not good deals at all. Foreclosures, they need to make their money back. This is not the US. The Canadian banks want their money back. So they're going to make sure they get the most amount of money. They actually stipulate a minimum amount of what's you're able to list the house at. Because I used to do those, and they state in a contract you cannot list lower than this price. They are looking to break even / mitigate their losses. So that's not always the best way to do it. If you are flipping here and you're buying a house and you spend 400,000 on a house and you spend 50,000 updating it, maybe 75,000, and you're hoping that you're going to make 600K, likely not going to happen. Because if that house sold for 600K fully renovated, it probably unrenovated probably would have cost you 475, 500. That's the reality. Our margins are so small. So I know I'm not answering your question if Alberta should have it, but I also think maybe that's how I'm answering it is why would we tax people on that when that's now there is something going on though. I do believe, like, I'm not an accountant, but I do remember that there is some sort of rule right now in Alberta about the flipping and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm pretty sure we have, I'm going to look it up right now. I'm pretty sure we have something actually quite similar. So it's Canada wide. There's an anti-flipping tax for Canada. So the new rule is profits made off of properties that are sold within 365 days of owning them will be taxed as business income. That was from March of 2023. This is also applicable to assignment sales, including pre-construction purchases. So this is taken from a, which website is this from? I'm just going to click on it. Yeah, this is taken from Calvert Home Mortgage. So it's a mortgage company. And this is Canada-wide, not province-wide. So FEC, I don't know if BC has another tax in regards to that as well. If you go to the canada.ca website, there's also a residential property flipping rule. And it's saying that it's being taxed as business income. I remember hearing about this last year. Basically, you have to have that property longer than 365 days. Otherwise, it's considered flipping. So their definition of property flipping is property flipping involves purchasing residential property and reselling the property in a short period of time to realize a profit. This also includes reselling the rights to purchase a property before its official sale. So I know in Edmonton, you actually can't assign. Most of the builders that we work with, I see the non-assignment clause. They don't actually let you assign. I think in BC and Ontario, that's actually quite common. But here, we don't see that here. Rules for reporting profit. It's fully taxable and does not qualify for the 50% capital gains inclusion rate or the principal residence exception. So that's big. It says that it started to change in January 1st of last year to be included as capital gains. So I know that they already tried to deter people last year on it. And like I said, I guess you can't really tax people if the profit is zero or negative, because 50%, 60%, 40% tax on $0 on negative is not going to, I mean, they're not going to give you a rebate on your loss. It's just basically considered as like a business income. So if you are doing it as a business, what it's doing is it's actually deterring people from doing this as a side hustle, where you're like, okay, I'm just going to do this once and make $50,000 and put it in my pocket. This is for people who are doing this on a regular basis. And I do see these houses all the time. You're going into bungalows that are fully renovated. This is not their first rodeo. They do it all the time. Again, it's a business. And so they're already going to be charged business expense anyways for the flipping. That really didn't change because it was a business for them. What this flipping tax is getting rid of is the everyday person who just decides with their buddies, maybe we'll just do this as a one-time off thing and flip and make some money and put it in our pockets. That's what they're doing. Government's making sure they're getting their money. So today we talked about the real estate market and what's going on, the anti-flipping tax, because somebody decided to bring it up. Happy to talk to you guys about any real estate related things next week again. Make sure you bring your questions and we will talk about that in probably the morning is usually when I do it. But actually, I'm not available in the morning. I will be doing it really early next Tuesday. It will be probably 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. MST. So if you want to stay tuned to that, let me know. Otherwise, you can put the comments in and we will respond when we are able to. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.